Lawsuits are piling up this morning against General Motors in the wake of a massive recall of compact cars. And now so are calls that the biggest automaker in the world should renounce some terms of its government bailout 5 years ago. Jeff Glor has been covering this scandal for weeks. Jeff, good morning.
Clarissa, good morning to you. When GM was bailed out, it was shielded against claims prior to 2009. Families and now some lawmakers say that never should have happened because the government rushed the deal and GM was hiding the truth.
You got that for Christmas?
For Margie Besko and Jane Reimer in Hammond, Wisconsin, an admission by General Motors that it knowingly sold cars with faulty ignition switches first came as a relief.
The airbag didn't deploy, the brakes failed, the steering failed, the key was in the accessory mode. It's got to be more than a coincidence.
In 2006, their daughters, 15-year-old Amy Rademacher and 18-year-old Natasha Weigel, were killed after the 2005 Chevy Cobalt they were in went off the road. The engine had shut off before the crash. The airbags did not work.
I feel they were playing God. They decided that it's okay to let these cars go out, and didn't matter to them that people were killed.
Amy and Natasha's family members, like some others, have now learned they are not eligible for compensation. The immunity pact brokered during the bailout gave GM a clean slate, absolving it of liabilities before June 1st, 2009. Family members have now filed a new wrongful death suit against GM, accusing the company of consumer fraud, misrepresentation of safety, and wants GM to assume strict liability for deaths and injuries. In Washington, we spoke with Senator Richard Blumenthal. You told the government not to do this, not to grant this immunity 5 years ago. Other attorneys general did the same thing. Why didn't the government listen?
Unfortunately, the federal government wanted a quick, easy deal, but it was also misled and deceived by GM.
Blumenthal, a former attorney general in Connecticut, says GM should renounce part of its bankruptcy agreements and set aside a special fund for victims. And that's not all. Would you let your kids drive these cars?
I wouldn't allow my children behind the wheel of one of these cars, and I'd urge anyone and everyone who owns it to have the ignition switch replaced or whatever is necessary, but not drive it in the meantime.
Should GM take these cars off the road?
GM should take these cars off the road.
General Motors declined to comment on any specific case, saying only it is true that the new GM did not assume responsibility for claims arising from incidents or accidents occurring prior to July 2009. Our principle throughout this process has been to put the customer first, and that will continue to guide us. Blumenthal says the victims' fund should be between $3 and $8 billion. GM says the cars are still safe to drive as long as drivers use a key and ring only, nothing else on the keychain.